Well, 2 weeks into the 2020 offseason, the Lions have filled two of their biggest coaching vacancies. This week, the Lions announced that they filled their defensive coordinator position with Cory Undlin, formerly the defensive backs coach with the Philadelphia Eagles. Gentlemen, what did you think of this hire for the Lions' new defensive coordinator?
Well, I kind of thought it was what they would get, not an established coordinator, but a guy looking for a step up. And I'd say to him, get to the quarterback, get to the ball. That's the first two things I'd ask him to do.
Well, I think it makes sense. He's got 20 years
Sure.
of experience coaching the defensive side of the football. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles, that's a man cover, aggressive type defense, fits with what Detroit obviously wants to do. And then with Undlin, you look at some of his defenses, up and down at the cornerback safety position, some of that personnel. But look, they've led the league, or been in the top 10 in the league, I should say, in interceptions in 3 of his 5 seasons as the defensive backs coach. So look, it's an aggressive group. It plays a lot of man defense. They try to get after the football, all the things that Matt Patricia wants to do.
Can he bring Fletcher Cox with him?
Yeah, that'd be nice too, isn't it?
I think I read one of your columns, didn't they have 31 takeaways in the 2017 year they went to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, that year they went to the Super Bowl, and so obviously
I do read you.
Thank you, appreciate that. From the Hall of Famer to reading me, I mean, what can I say?
I lowered myself.
So
I ran out of comics.
Yeah, but when you look at teams that go to the playoffs, go far into the playoffs, win Super Bowls, that takeaway statistic is key. And when you look at the Lions' defense this year, they were near the bottom in the league in takeovers. Their 7 interceptions were tied for the fewest in the NFL. And so, look, you need to get more hands-on footballs. You need more guys being aggressive in the secondary, getting after footballs, intercepting the ball. Philadelphia's defense has been known to do that in the past, and so with Undlin coming over, you hope some of that kind of transitions to Detroit alongside Patricia.
Yeah, and for both of you, I just wonder how important is it to developing young players that they have? When you talk about Jelani Tavai and the young guys in the secondary, some of the names that were down: Tracy Walker, Will Harris, Amani Oruwariye. Said that right?
Yeah,
got
you
it
said
right
it right.
again.
Two in a row, I think.
Yeah.
But I wonder how important that is to develop those young players, because they're going to have to be really the heart of this defense going forward.
Here's what stands out to me about the defensive coordinator hire is that Matt Patricia is not hiring someone to come in and bring their defensive scheme. A lot of head coaches, when they're hiring a defensive coordinator, you're hiring their defensive scheme as well. This defense is still going to be Matt Patricia's. He just needs someone to run it.
Well, my guess would be that Matt Patricia continues to call the plays as well. But look, you want someone to throw ideas off of. You want someone to be a sounding board. On Mondays and Tuesdays when you're putting the game plan together. You want someone with experience in front of guys who's commanded a room before. Undlin gives you all that kind of stuff. And so, look, these two have crossed paths in before, too. They were both assistant coaches in 2004 in New England. Patricia on the offensive side, Undlin on the defensive side. They were both defensive assistants, so they battled a little bit, as that year went on. They won a Super Bowl that year. They've had success there. So, look, they've stayed friendly throughout. But I agree, Tori. It's not a scheme. It's not Undlin's scheme that's bringing in. Jim Schwartz was a defensive coordinator there, and that's a different scheme. But it's someone to be a sounding board of, someone he's familiar with, he's coached with and against. And so I think it makes sense.
Well, now just been worked against him every day in practice too. And I looked at this, and I hope my notes are accurate here. But before the 5 years you were in Philadelphia, he was a defensive assistant who moved into a position coaching job both in Denver, Cleveland, Jacksonville. So he's been under a variety of people, and I think it's good to have different ideas, competing ideas, even sort of creative tension if you don't necessarily agree with everything that you're doing. I think that's whoever that is. I think that's a good trait to have for sure.
And then on the special teams side, the Lions filled their special teams coordinator role with Brayden Coombs out of Cincinnati. Guys, this guy seems to be an up-and-coming name in the coaching ranks, and there were a lot of good comments out there on social media and from experts about this special teams hire.
I talked to a guy over the weekend in their front office. He said, you're going to absolutely love this guy. 33 years old, full of energy and all that. That's what you want, to me, in a special teams coordinator.
I did like Don Muehlbach and Matt Prater now being coached by a guy who's younger than they are. They walk into that room, who's this guy? But
Snap what?
but he is, like you said, Tori, an up-and-comer. Look, he was under Darren Simmons in Cincinnati for 7 years, I think, as the special teams assistant. And Darren's well known across the league as one of the really good special teams coaches. I think Cincinnati was number 1 in special teams statistics last year and overall special teams. And so here's a guy who was there every day under a guy who did it at a really high level. He saw first thing what it takes to be really good coaching special teams for 7 years. So now he gets his opportunity here. Good for him.
Well, the Lions have their 3 coordinators in place now, obviously returning offensive coordinator, now their defensive and special teams coordinators are in place ahead of their trip to coach the Senior Bowl next week in Mobile, Alabama. We will be there with the coverage, of course. Thanks, guys, so much for tuning in. From Xfinity Studio, I'm Tori Petry.